Greetings, fellow man. Servus Männer. It's Red Pill Germany again, and today I want to talk about the upcoming American presidential elections. I don't want to make a video about Trump and Clinton every day or something like that. Many of you must be sick of that already, I can probably tell, but I want to at least get my opinion on that topic out. And if you say now, well, you live in Germany, you're a German, why are you interested in these elections? Well, first of all, I would say that people who are not living in the United States are maybe more affected in some ways than people in America themselves. For example, I don't know, people in the Ukraine, people in Russia, people in Syria, people in Lebanon, people in Iraq, and also people in Europe who are also affected by all that stuff that the globalists are doing at the moment, all these wars, all this destabilizing. So we are very much affected by the outcome of this election. This is why a lot of people outside of the US are interested, because they are directly affected by it. So it is pretty clear that Clinton is an agent of the globalist elite, of the bankers, of the international cabal that is trying to take away nationalism and democracy, of course. And if that is a little bit too conspiracy theorist for you, then I will just say that, without nationalism, without secure borders, without a nation state, there is no democracy. There has never been democracy without secure borders and nationalism. So when they try to install these supranational constructs like the European Union or the euro as a common currency in the European Union, they are trying to take away power from the people, from the electorate, and they want to transfer it to some anti-democratic, appointed rather than elected elites. And this is what they're doing. And if you look at the campaign funding of the contributors of the Clinton campaign, you will see that you have all the big names, all the banks, all these corporations that are owned by these people. You have it on the list, so that Clinton is an agent of the globalist elite. That is a no-brainer. We all know that. But what about Trump? I mean, could he be controlled opposition like many others are? We know that they use false flag operations, brainwashing in the universities, and also the mass media that they own, of course, in order to brainwash people. And they also use the money supply. They can increase or decrease the money supply in order to destabilize whole economies. They use these tactics in order to terrorize us, to make us afraid, and then eventually to take away our rights. Now, if Trump would just be controlled opposition, I think personally he would be the worst candidate for a controlled opposition of these elites, because he wants secure borders, he wants to bring domestic production jobs back to the US. He also says that he wants to get along with Putin and to make deals with Vladimir Putin and Russia, instead of what Clinton says, that they would actually engage in a militant conflict, to actually strike back against these provocations from the Russian side and all that stuff. Because this is also what the elites want, The elites want war because they're funding always both sides. They funded Napoleon and they funded the British, They funded the Nazis and the people who fought against the Nazis, They funded the Russians in Vietnam and they funded the US during the Vietnam War and so on. Of course, we also know that they trained the Taliban, Al-Qaeda, and they are funding and training also ISIS. We know all that. So the picture that is painted in the liberal, elite-owned Western media, and also in Europe here, is that Trump is actually the big danger for world peace, when in fact what Trump says is actually pretty non-violent, non-militant, in my mind at least. But that is never presented to the people. So good that the Germans cannot vote in the US elections, because I think 90% of the Germans think that Hillary Clinton wants world peace and wants to get along with people, and Trump just wants to nuke countries, which is of course totally insane, because if you listen to what they actually say, Clinton is very anti-Russia and she's in bed with the Saudis and with Qatar, of course. And Trump says he wants to fight ISIS side by side with Russia, and that would actually be better for world peace, I'm sure, if you get along with Russia, and if you fight against terrorism. Of course, I have to say that a lot of this terrorism is also just created by those elites, as I said before, in order to make us accept stuff like the Patriot Act or IC chip in German passports, for example, or cameras in the public sphere that are observing us all the time, or the fact that police can just kick your door in without any notice or without any reason. All that stuff, we accept that because we want to be protected by our governments against these evil terrorists. And of course, these elites, I mean, they didn't come up with fascism, they didn't come up with communism, they didn't create Islam, but they're using it, you know, they're fanning the flames, so to speak. They're adding fuel to the fire, you know, they pour oil into the fire, and sometimes they make the flames go down, you know, and sometimes they make the fire explode when they want to, when it serves their purpose. And in that way, with the short attention span of the nations, you know, if the attention span of a millennial is like 2 minutes, the attention span of a nation is maybe half a year, you know. And when you say, oh, look what you guys said in 1996, people will say, what, 1996? Oh, that's ancient history. Who cares, nerd? And this is the big problem, you know. People forget what happened in the past, and they don't see the patterns in history. Of course, there is no peer-reviewed studies about that. It's not really fact, but it's pretty obvious when you look at who owns the banks and who is behind all these wars in the end and who profits from it, you know. So I think it's pretty sure that Clinton will continue this policy of destabilization of the Middle East and Europe, and also take a very provoking, very hostile stance towards Russia, just like Obama does now. Clinton will make it even worse because she is bought and paid by all these corrupt elite banking families. You know them, you know, Rothschild, Rockefeller, Morgan, and so on and so on. Yeah. But what Trump says, if he does that, you know, if he builds the wall, and I don't know if it's a metaphorical wall or an actual physical wall, if he is against NAFTA and against this globalist stuff, like he says, then he's on our side, I think, you know. And do I know 100% that he is not controlled opposition, or that he will do a 180 turn after the elections? No, I don't know that, but at least there is a probability that he actually means what he says. Like, take Angela Merkel, for example. She never campaigned on the platform of bailing out the banks or stopping nuclear power or opening our borders. I mean, she never campaigned in a German federal election by saying, oh, I will just open our borders. I mean, she would not have been elected then. She got elected, and then after the elections, she just did all that stuff. And now she makes it sound like that they were totally unprepared and there was no way that we would know that this would happen, when in fact they knew that these migrants are on their way. They knew that at least 5 years before 2015, when all the migrants arrived in autumn or late summer 2015. They knew it. They just didn't do anything on purpose. And now they act as if they were overwhelmed and surprised by these very fast unfolding events. Total bullshit. This was planned years ahead. Years ahead. This was orchestrated by the elites. They want to destabilize the Middle East. They want to destabilize Europe, you know. They want multicultural, borderless societies so they can control us with race baiting and with resulting race riots and looting and just lack of security and on the streets, you know. People are afraid, people are hostile, there is tribalism, and again, the elites didn't create tribalism. Tribalism you find even in animals, but they use it against us. Yeah? They tap into that. And this is how they take away our democracy, they take away our rights, our freedom, and the end goal is, of course, a world government where we all have somehow chips implanted or something, and where we are basically slaves or serfs again. This is what they want. They want total control over the people, and some kind of nation state with a functioning democracy and an economy that is working for the people and is not extracting just wealth from the people all the time. They don't want that. They hate that, you know. They hate that, and they want to destroy it. They want to tap into it. They want to make the people their chattel. That's what they want. And when they see a state that is autonomous, when they see a population that elects its own government and that has secure borders and that manages its own affairs, they cannot sleep at night. They can't have it. They want to tap in. They want to have their 30% cut of every transaction that's going on in this country. They want to control the government. They want to control the economy. They want to control the money. They want to control the bank, the central bank, you know, of the country. They want to control everything. They want to be able to make policy with a phone call when they call these puppet governments that they install in these nations after they subjugate them. So these are things that many useful idiots don't know, especially in Europe. They don't know. They think Trump is just a madman and Hillary Clinton is an awesome, courageous woman. Yeah, so I really hope that Trump wins. And do I know that he is the guy he says he is? No, I don't know that. Again, I think the probability is at least there. The probability is at least given in his case that he is not on the side of the elites, even though he is a billionaire. But yeah, we will see after the election, I would say. And maybe he is our last hope, because the USA is, of course, the most important state. It is the home state of these international globalist elites. I mean, they don't have a home country, they don't have a nation, they don't have roots, but America is just the biggest, most powerful country, and this is why they are there. And if we could bring back nationalism, like we have these movements all over Europe at the moment that want to bring back European nationalism, and this is the only way to go if we want to avoid our fate, or the fate of our children and grandchildren, as slaves of these ruling oligarchy, of these ruling families of the planet, if you wish. If we want to avoid this fate, then bringing back nationalism and democracy, national democracies, that is the only way I see fit. So is Donald Trump perfect? I don't think so, but at least in my moral socio-economic vector space, he at least shows some relevant components into the right direction from my point of view, whereas Clinton is, of course, the absolute 180-degree opposite direction of where I want to end up. Alright, so that was it for today, and this is basically where I stand on the Trump-Clinton question. And yeah, let me know what you think about that in the comments, and have a great day. Servus, Kameraden.